Hi everyone, I meant to do this video in time for the new year, but as you can see, it kind of got away from me. I decided to take some time out from recording videos for this channel, but I'm back and I'm ridiculously enthusiastic about it. And as the idea for this video seemed far too good to shelve, I guess here we go. Over the last year or so, I've tested a number of different things and I wanted to tell you how they actually performed on the job, so to speak. Yep, I don't just talk about them, I use them for paid jobs too. And I'll tell you the good points and the bad points that I came across during this video. Firstly, do you remember the video I did about the expensive torch? Yep, this one. It cost a mere £275 sterling or $348. And I thought that yet again I'd bought something that would at best become an interesting talking point, or at worst, a back of the shelf dust collector. Guess which one my wife thought it was going to be? Oh yes. Anyway, I've actually used it a couple of times for weddings and specifically the first dance. On both occasions I entrusted it to the least intoxicated and most sensible person around. Not the easiest thing to find by the evening of a wedding, but I'm pleased to say that it's so robust because when I asked them to hold it above their head and tried to point it at the happy couple, it has landed on the floor a few times. Now, I don't know if you've done a wedding recently, but the DJ always seems to choose the first dance as the opportunity to show off every gadget in his arsenal. Flashing coloured lights, lasers and usually a fog machine are deployed, overpowering most attempts at normal photography. Well, that's when this little baby comes into its own. Crank it up to its maximum 2700 lumens and it's powerful enough to cut through any flashing coloured lighting that's thrown at it. Maybe not the fog, but if you catch the dance early enough, you can still see them from the knees up. And yes, you may temporarily blind the bride and groom, but at least they've got some decent photos to look at. Well, that's when their eyesight's returned anyway. So the bit lighter has been useful, if only for a couple of occasions. So I also showed you the strip lights, these strip lights. You know the ones with the tricky name? Wait, I can do this. The Yongnuo YN360 and the YN363. I bought them for £93 and £113 respectively, and they've proven to be invaluable as the video lights I'm using now. And more importantly, as a replacement for studio or fill-in flash. For instance, the other day I got a booking to do some 6-week-old puppies to photograph them, but the room they had to be in was a little bit dark. It was a little cottage and there wouldn't be enough room for the constant studio lighting. A flash wouldn't be appropriate either for such young eyes, and so I deployed the 2 light bars. This had the added bonus of giving the customers a job to do instead of distracting the dogs like normal. As you can see, they worked extremely well in a tight and poorly lit area. So great as video lights, and handy when you can't use the studio or flash lighting. They also do a great job as a work light in my shed when I'm in there. Possibly a bit overpriced for that, but never mind. Now to the gimbal that I bought for less than £65. Now I know what you're thinking. He's going to go on about his wildlife photography, more of his flipping red kite photos. Well, yes, and here are some, and I've used it more than once for that. But I've also used it for studio shots at shows. What is he talking about, I hear you say? Well, at the breed shows, I use a monitor tethered to the camera so the handler can see what the photo will look like. They're very precise about the way the dog's presented and they like to be in control, especially if they're going to use the photos to advertise their latest crop of puppies. So while they're rearranging the dog, they don't need me to be waving the camera around and making them feel seasick. The gimbal gives me stability to hold position, whilst having the flexibility to move around if the shot changes. I can also track them in action in the ring behind me, or without taking the camera off the tripod. Clever, huh? Anyway, now we get to a serious subject, my Z100-400. As you know, I've used it at various indoor and outdoor dog agility events, including the World Agility Open. It's been used for various subjects, from motocross to birds of prey, and it never missed a beat. I almost retired my favourite lens, the 300mm f2.8, but that was until the London International Horse Show at Excel in December. Suddenly the restriction of the f4 to 5.6 aperture was apparent in both the main ring and second ring. The light just wasn't good enough for the shutter speeds I needed. Luckily, I still had my trusty 300mm in the bag with me. f2.8 saved the day and I could carry on shooting. And that's the conundrum, isn't it? I can get an extra 100mm more reach than I can with my 300mm. I can get the adaptability of the 100 to 400 range, and I can have a lighter lens which gives my poor old shoulder a break. But for all of that, there's a payoff, and that's the aperture. As always, it's a balance, I guess. And talking about balance, for the sake of that balance and total honesty, I wanted to mention all the shortfalls as well as the positives of all the items in this video. And I'll tell you what, I really relied on that 100 to 400 lens when I was working at the wettest, coldest shows I've ever done. And it worked flawlessly. Why did I have to rely on it so heavily? Well, because my Z1 70 to 200 is still away for repair after failing to initialise at a shoot 4 weeks ago. And yes, I'm still waiting fixation. Should have gone straight to Nikon, but that's a story for a later date. So all in all, my 4 purchases have been used for work, though some less than others. Would my working life be more difficult without them? Well, no, yes, yes, and absolutely. I can't be clearer than that, can I? Thank you so much for joining me. It's great to be back, and you know what to do. If you liked it, then like it, and if you really like it, then subscribe, because you don't want to miss what's coming up soon. I've got some great ideas. That break's really worked. Take care. See you soon.